Thank you.
I now recognize Ms. Lee from Nevada for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief Schultz, thank you for being here. Together with my colleagues and Ranking Member Neguse, I've worked and fought for years to secure the bipartisan pay fix for our federal wildland firefighters that we finally passed earlier this year. And I'm hearing, however, as with any new law or any new passage, that there's some tweaks that we might need to address. And several of these firefighters, however, reported that the Forest Service is lagging behind the Department of Interior in implementing a fair approach to overtime pay. As I understand it, the Forest Service currently classifies a broader range of firefighters as FLSA exempt, even though their duties clearly are frontline operational. This is leading to situations where many of your agency's firefighters, let's say a GS-8 engine captains, are performing essentially the same non-exempt duties as their interior counterparts, but they're being treated as exempt, and as a result, they and their families are losing out on significant overtime earnings during peak fire season. So my first question is pretty simple, Chief. As the chief, can you commit to working to correct this discrepancy and ensuring that Forest Service firefighters aren't being paid less than their counterparts simply because they report to you instead of the Interior Secretary?
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Lee, I'm not aware of this issue, so before I commit to something, I need to understand the issue. So let us look into this and we'll get back to you directly.
Great, thank you. I appreciate for your willingness to look into this. I've also heard concerns regarding how the Forest Service is implementing the Incident Response Premium Pay, IRPP, which was codified as part of this pay fix. It was a bipartisan pay fix. And this fix specified that an incident qualifies as IRPP if it has not been contained within 36 hours. However, there seems to be a question within the agency as to whether this IRPP should be provided to firefighters starting only after they've been out for 36 hours mark or at the very beginning of the incident, once the 36-hour threshold is met. My understanding, Chief, is that the Forest Service is currently interpreting the pay fix, this provision, in the way that it is less generous to our men and women in uniform. Do you have an understanding? Is this accurate?
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Lee, I need to look into this as well and get back to you on this.
Okay, so I just hope that you look into that. If you find that this is happening, I think the intent of the pay fix was to understand that these firefighters are under incredible fatigue, and that their fatigue doesn't start after 36 hours, that the pressure on them as firefighters begins when the incident begins, and that we can come to a fix for that. Can I get a commitment from you to take a look into that?
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Lee, we will definitely look into this and let you know what we find out.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Finally, my next question really centers around this administration's mind-boggling cuts to the Forest Service staff of all kinds. And to date, the administration has reportedly cut about 15% of your agency's workforce. And as a retired firefighter with 45 years of experience from Arizona told a reporter earlier this year, quote, "Firefighters cannot be effective without having the planning section supporting them with maps, the finance section paying the bills, and the logistics section getting the water and food out to where they're working." And I've heard this same concern from firefighters in my own office. And so, why should these firefighters, after an already long and hard-fought battle to ensure fairer wages, trust an administration that's actively driving out essential agency staff? And again, we can have a debate on what's essential and non-essential, but I think there is a general concern that the loss of staff in some of these support services is really endangering those men and women who are on the front lines. And so, you know, can we get a commitment that we'll make a attempt to look at this to make sure we're not unduly putting firefighters in harm's way by cutting this type of essential staff?
So, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Lee, the process we've gone through so far has been primarily through, we call it deferred resignation. It's been voluntary retirements. There were some initial probationary employees let go. Most of those folks came back, and then some took the probationary. They left on DRP after that. What we have done in the meantime is, so anybody who was a firefighter, classified as a firefighter, was not allowed to participate in that DRP program. So no firefighters directly left as a part of that program. What we have been talking about is people that had red cards that left. I think when we've talked about the numbers, it's about 1,400, and of those 1,400, I think we estimated about 350 had actually been on a fire in the last 5 years. And of those folks, 130 of them have come back this season, and many of them are on a fire today. In terms of what we're doing, as we look at, I mentioned earlier that when we had people leave, when it's deferred resignation, it was voluntary. So we did not control where they left or what their job was. So what we have to do now is kind of rebalance things. And that's the piece that I think you're alluding to, is how do we make sure we have the right people in the right places given where people left? And right now we have a public comment period on the restructuring. So we're going to be reviewing those comments that we get from the public and anybody that submits that. We're going to be coming back internally, looking at that, looking at what staffing we have, and then we're going to go back to the secretary and make recommendations on what we think we should do in light of how things have shaken out, in light of the public comment, and then the secretary will make a decision on how to proceed.
Great, thank you. And we'll obviously have people participate. Thanks for your service.
Yes, ma'am.
I yield.
Gentlelady yields.